are they in a place where they think maybe it's time to move on from NiKo, and that's why they're kind of willing to let him go early? Or is it just a case of like they know he would have left anyway at the end, and so we would rather get some money for him now?
The world is changing quickly. Showdown.
The world is changing, but one thing remains the same: victories with 1xBet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at hltv.org/shop.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. To my left and or right, depending on which perspective that you're looking at the screen, is Prof. On my left and or right, on the other side, is Striker. Gentlemen, thank you for being here this evening on August the 26th, 2024 at approximately 8 p.m. CEST. We have adjourned for another official episode. Now, if you would all please do the secret handshake into the camera for HLTV Confirmed, that would be greatly appreciated. Wonderful.
This is the secret handshake for sure.
Yeah, we got to zoom out for that one, I think.
They need to like handshake over here with the other guy.
You got to keep going. You're going to have to show Taylor Swift in all her glory. Oh, yes. Look at this. It's all coming together.
This is kind of how it is. There you go.
Pot friend, a very early pot friend. Quick shout out to the sponsors. 1xBet, remember to gamble responsibly. And Skin Place, newest sponsor. You can sell skins there. That's what I learned. Head over to Skin Place if you're looking to sell some skins. All right, 1xBet, Skin Place, and another episode of a podcast with 3 dudes. Well, 4 if you count the producer. 4 dudes talking about Counter-Strike.
It's a unique concept. No one ever thought about it before.
Not many of these going around, you know.
No,
they're pretty
unusual.
Whoever
Especially
thought
now
about
with
a talk
3
show.
people. I feel like 3 people is so avant-garde. It's always like 15 people or one guy, you know. But 3, it's groundbreaking what we managed to achieve here.
It's kind of crazy. Gentlemen, I have a package in the mail for some positive things coming for the HLTV Confirmed in the future. It's in the mail. It should be delivered tomorrow by DHL. Not a sponsor of the show. Just want to let you know. And I have another package. I ordered some shoes. They're being delivered by UPS.
What are the shoes?
I guess.
There's some Vans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Off the wall.
Yep. I'm looking at the preview right now and I'm just seeing the different lights we have. Like I'm hit by the blue light. You guys, Striker's definitely just working up from his nap. Prof's had a little bit extra time on his nap.
Yeah.
You've got Striker's wearing a piece of the Counter-Strike merchandise from Cologne. You're wearing a Taylor Swift shirt.
Yes.
You know what's inspired?
Unofficial.
Did
obviously.
you make it yourself?
Jesus Taylor Swift.
Yes, it's very nice. My girlfriend got me this, found it randomly and sent me a photo. I'm like, you are buying this, obviously.
You must have it.
Yes, it's a must-have. So,
Whoever made that is getting sued.
well, it's probably like one of those small shops, that no one can track down. So I'll just vibe with it, unless we
Great.
get sued for showing it off. Who knows?
No, I think you'll be fine. You and Graham Pitt have something in common, both Taylor Swift fans.
So men's of culture, as you could say.
Wouldn't have him
Also-
as a Swiftie, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a massive Swiftie.
Didn't know that.
I got the shirt from Navi. They were like high noobs shirt, which looks pretty cool, but you can't really see anything when you put it on, which is kind of annoying. So I'll have to use it in a different way.
All right, fine. Striker, do you have any discussions about your clothing choice for today?
Not particularly. Just like this. To be honest, this is the only t-shirt that I liked. Everything else is kind of like very complicated. So
You shout on all of my hard time, effort, and designs there. That's fine.
Sorry.
We'll
Wait,
work
you're involved in this?
heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent
I
days.
mean, honestly, they look
Days.
good.
Well, consecutive days.
Entire
Consecutive
days.
for the better part of a week, really. I would say a week. Yeah.
Honestly, that Pop Dog shirt
yeah.
looks tailor-made for you, I have to say.
That's the only thing I really wanted.
Yeah, and the things look good, but it's also like I feel like it's me and Striker have like it's not our vibe. It's not our
Yeah.
vibe.
Okay.
We are more on the boomer side. but
like
that's
less streets.
slightly.
Like that's kind of streets, and we're not really that. Neither of us. So
We're more like office, apartment.
Office. Okay.
Yeah.
so we need
we'll do a
we need an
polo
office. Yeah, exactly. We
with
need
a
like
little
an
embroidered
office.
Counter Strike
thing.
man.
Or maybe like work from home. That's our vibe. Our vibe is extremely work from home.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do for the next step for you boys, because we'll work on some other stuff to see if we can sell some. It takes a while because you need to get like Valve approval on the gear, and then they have to make it all.
Yeah.
So we'll try and make some more.
The
stuff.
creator of my shirt disagrees on the getting
Yeah.
approval part, I'm pretty sure.
Fair enough. All right, gentlemen, there's some big stuff to talk about on tonight's show. So let's roll the bumper and let's get into it. Lucas, hit it. All right, we're back in business. Lots to talk about in the Counter-Strike world. We love a rumor. But first, we'll start with not a rumor. We'll start with an interview that Chopper did just a couple of days ago.
Anti-rumor even.
Sorry?
Anti-rumor.
Yes, I suppose. That's
yeah.
probably a good way to frame it. Now, this is a Dimitri and Striker collaboration, a bit like ESO and Counter-Strike with the merge, but the two of you with your powers combined. Are you using Dimitri for his proficiency in the Russian language, Striker?
Yes. We have been doing that for a while. If people have noticed, we've done a lot of interviews in Russian that we've then translated, or Dimitri, and with the help of another Russian speaker from the team, has helped translate. And I hope people have been enjoying that, because we've actually done like some decent pieces on people that don't ever really speak English, so this is one of those cases.
No, this Chopper interview, when you read it, is like, there's no fucking way this happened in English. Like the detail that he goes into some of these games, it just doesn't. He just does. People don't feel that comfortable speaking English. They don't enjoy it, and then they just keep it as short as possible. And obviously, speaking first language just changes how the interview comes across. So, been a nice one. Nice one to read.
Definitely a lot more nuanced than when there's conversation around Spirit bombing out, and then discussions about, oh, did you see that interview with Zontix before the game, or the body language of the players, and then the rumor starting to whir into action of, oh, are they going to make a replacement in the tail end of the year?
Who is like trying to analyze Zontix's body language before or after or during games anyway? I mean, the guy is like half dead inside. Like you cannot get a read on him.
Half dead inside, full dead inside. We'll never know the level of dead inside, but definitely at least 50%, right? At least he's on his way. It doesn't show a lot of emotions, that kid. But if you go on and you read this Chopper interview, essentially dispelling the rumors of a roster change for them, it felt like Chopper was taking, correct me if I'm wrong here, but he was taking like accountability for him not setting the mood of the team correct coming out of the break. But it didn't say like what was off with the atmosphere. That's just I think what I took from it was that maybe the atmosphere was too serious, right? Like, because
too high expectations, or like just maybe they put too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah, because what he was saying, it was something along the lines of like, this is still a young team. The core of the team, which he considers the AWP, the in-game leader, and the star rifler have only been together for like 6 months or something like that.
A bit more
I
than that,
see.
like more like
you,
7, 8.
you
but,
took
yeah.
notes.
I
I
took
also
notes.
took notes.
That
I had the same note.
you read the interview. You didn't just read the headline. Let's
Most
go.
of the time I say I just read the headline and I've actually read the interview. So it's just a cool thing that people think, hey, is this Australian idiot? He doesn't pay any attention. Look at this clown. And then really
You have to set a better example to the youth.
well, it's not my fault they're given iPads in the pram, mate. I can't help them. They're
Yeah,
done.
but if you reinforce this idea that only reading the headlines is okay, then more people will do it, right? So
It's Strike, I'm trying to stay hip, all right? I'm trying to be very demure, very mindful. Keep Prof like that one. That got him right in the.
It got me right in the reels.
Got him
with
got
that
him,
one.
man. But is there much more of in this interview that we missed, or it's just, hey, there's no roster changes going on at Spirit? Because we already spoke about the Perfecto thing being extremely unlikely / impossible, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's worth saying that kind of he's also not the one with all the power, so like the organization might just, like imagine there's like Monte lands in their lap like during the next week or something,
Sure.
and they're gonna be like, well, maybe we should jump on that, So like obviously it's not up to him whether they're gonna make changes or not. I'm sure he has some sort of an input, but in the end, he doesn't know for sure. So, and he was also kind of making sure that he doesn't say it's impossible because it was just clear that it's not necessarily in his power. But that was kind of the gist of it. But he talked kind of in depth into a lot of different things, even some of the losses specifically that they suffered, like against G2. I mean, in both cases at EWC and in Cologne, which was both, I mean, in kind of a pretty convincing fashion. He was also talking about the whole SnapTap situation, which was also interesting, because they were one of the teams that never really got their hands on it until after Cologne. I guess they just started learning about it a little bit before, I think, from what I know, and only started testing it after Cologne apparently. And then like within a few days of them actually trying it, it was bad. So they were like, what the fuck? We just got our hands on these keyboards, So yeah, I mean, that's about it, but it's definitely worth going into, just because it also kind of gives you a little bit more of an idea of a guy that you otherwise wouldn't really know too much of the personality of if you don't get the Russian interviews translated. So it's a nice one to read as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you said, Chad. He acknowledged that the vibes were not great in a way. So maybe like all of the body language stuff kind of translates to something. It's not like Zontix was happy. Obviously, they got fucking destroyed, right? Yep. It's nothing to be happy about there. But Chopper's explanation of raising the expectations too far was kind of made sense to me. And he said like it was coming from him in some ways, that he just expected to be like, if they're not in the semifinal every time, that they're not good, because they were kind of doing that consistently in the first half of the year. So that became the norm, and you just what's it called? Like essentially the performance creep. You constantly doing this, then this becomes the standard, and everything below that is shit. So they saw themselves as a tournament winning team, and if they're not winning a tournament, they're trash. And then that kind of spiraled into the whole atmosphere of the team when they lost to Mongols. That's like, oh well, I guess we are shit now, and nothing is good. So the direct quote is like what he said: for me, the greatest factor is that I, as a captain, couldn't put a team in a lighter vibe so that the players would be relaxed. And then he said later, I had expectations that we're a super team. We won 2 events. We're tier 1, tier S, and we need to reach the semifinals at the minimum. I believe these thoughts of mine hurt the team. I suppose to have an understanding that we're a young team, and the stuff that you said, being together for the core of the team, being together for 6 months, right? The IGL op star player combo, which honestly makes sense. And this interview, even though it's not a PR interview in any way, I mean, maybe they did prepare about what they were going to say. I think it calms a lot of the nervousness around Spirit. Obviously, they need to follow it up with some decent results now at BetBoom. But other than that, I think it makes sense. People get overzealous a bit, and then get a wake-up call.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I think if we look at the scene as a whole, it's reflective of that as well. Like a lot of these rosters, if you really go and look at how long the cores have been together or how long some of these teams have been together, you're going to struggle with a few of them. There's only a couple which really leap off the page as fully established teams. Otherwise, a lot of them have been in flux or changing rosters even when things look like they've been going decently, right? Most of these rosters have had changes within the last year, if I'm looking at it right now. So we're not in era of Counter-Strike where teams get to stay together for that long. So we'll see what happens with Spirit. We'll see if that changes after the major. Okay, let's jump into the big one for the day. Everyone's favorite Counter-Strike team, G2, is back in the conversation, but not for the reasons many may expect. Now, this is regarding NiKo to Falcons. Let's try and get the facts of the matter out, or I guess we could call them facts. So last year, around, what would it have been, October, there was conversation about NiKo going to Falcons and them having a crack at trying to pick him up then. They were unable to do so. It fell through. A couple of days ago, KRL put something out saying that NiKo would have been heading to Falcons. Then there was something this morning from, is it Sheep Esports? Yep, they put out a report. And the long and the short of this, it's been followed up, and you guys have put an article on your website. So the classic sources, everyone's least favorite Counter-Strike installation. But I think as soon as it makes it to HLTV, it's considered somewhat, there's weight behind it, right? So you guys have posted this. It's, what were the details? 1 to 1.2 million for the transfer for a 3-year deal for NiKo. There's nothing regarding what his salary would be. The 1 to 1.2 would be the buyout that Falcons would be paying to G2, as far as I understand.
Yeah, that's how I understood it as well. Yeah.
And it wouldn't happen until after this year concludes with the Shanghai Major. So it would essentially be taking place as of January 1 for 2025 for him to move over to Falcons. Now, what's the initial reactions when you see this, Prof? What's your first thought?
My first thought was, why? When you look at the Falcons team, and obviously that's just the first thought. Second thought is, obviously this was going to happen. Not necessarily that the move was going to happen, but that Falcons was going to come back. You know, that they were going to come back and ask again. Like, I think when the first thing fell through, we all said that it's unlikely that they stop now. They're going to build a team with what they can and try to get, the best that they can. But obviously, there is going to be a time in the future when they're going to come knocking again for NiKo. So these are the first two thoughts that came very shortly next to one another.
Yeah,
I mean, my first thought was kind of, that cannot be it. There has to be more to it than just NiKo, because I mean, why would you be NiKo and make this move unless you had a reasonable idea that there was going to be more coming? Because I mean, realistically, just NiKo going to this Falcons team is probably not going to do it. Why would he leave, Monte behind, for example, for this team? I mean, there's, other than, whatever people can say about the sort of salary that he would be on last time around that it happened, he basically said it himself that he would have been the highest paid player in the world, or at least as he thought at the time. So I'm sure that's one motivating factor, but if you kind of want to make your legacy and want to win that major that you've never won and kind of leave your legacy in CS on a good note, then it cannot just be about that, right? I mean, it has to be for a competitive roster that will actually be able to get him to that final dream that he's never fulfilled, right? So from my perspective, it's like, what haven't we heard about this, rather than this specific move?
I'm also curious as to when these conversations would have started. Would this have, like, we would have to be playing a guessing game, but obviously there was a dialogue last year. And for there to be a dialogue again this year, I'm curious if that started within the break, right? When they were trying to work out new players for G2 in the replacement positions for Nexa and Hooksy. And maybe, that had some impact on the type of decisions that NiKo was willing to make for this next window of time, if he had known that there was the move to Falcons on the table at some point. I think there's a lot, like, most of us go from the Falcons and NiKo camp as the first thought, I would imagine. And I think it's bang on in terms of what else is going to happen within that team. I've heard, I don't know if anybody can clarify this, but I was reading the dirt sheets and people were commenting that Monesi's contract is up with G2 at the end of this year.
There's a lot of conflicting stuff about that behind the scenes. I mean, I've been trying to figure that out for a while, and there's enough saying that it could be ending this year, but also enough that I heard that it's probably well into 2025. So I cannot say for sure. It really It seems nobody knows, even from kind of people who should know in theory, you know, like people who probably asked at some point about the player, you know, and things like that. Even they're not necessarily sure about when that deal is done. So it's anybody's guess at this point. But it seems that if he was part of those discussions, at least right now, we'd probably have heard from the same. I mean, I'm sure it's the same kind of places that the whole NiKo report came from, right? Like if it is somebody either within G2 or within Falcons, I mean, it would be in Falcons' interest for people to know that they're getting Monte and NiKo, because that also means maybe they're going to get somebody else, like as further improvement to the team or whatever it is, you know. Like it's obviously good for them if they for their optics, if they're getting to such high profile players, you know. So it seems at the moment, at least, and from what I've heard from other places as well, that he's not moving right now, or at least not committing anywhere at the moment. But it could be happening sometime down the line, of course, especially considering, you know, he no longer has NiKo beside him. I mean, if you're looking at him and he's considering his future for next year, and he no longer has such a big player in his team, then of course you're going to start thinking about your future seriously. And if you want to re-sign for another huge contract, you know, as we know G2 to do, usually they're going for like three years plus, you know, with these big players. So from that perspective, there's enough to say that there's definitely some consideration on his part.
Let's do a little bit of a, like, let's focus, because there's so many different paths we could walk down here to have discussions about this change. But let's play as if I want you, the two of you and myself, and even the people playing at home, you guys can play this little thought experiment too. I want you to, for 1 minute, which is probably going to be really easy for some of you, because I see a lot of NiKo haters out there on the forum. So you guys want to be him so bad. You hating him on the internet. This should be really easy for y'all. I want you to embody NiKo right now. And you want to move to a team that is going to get you the major trophy, or that you're going to be able to curate a roster with you to get the major trophy. Now, with that in mind, and you can see the current Falcons roster existing of Snappy, Sampaius, Madden, Magisk, and Dupree, and Zonic as the coach. Anyone can jump in here at any point, even you in chat. How many members of that roster, if you were NiKo, are you happy to stay in that team for you to win a major trophy?
One.
Yeah. One.
So are we thinking
maybe?
Does his name start with M?
Let's say yes, but let's say 2 if you want to include the coach.
Okay, so you guys are, and people in chat are spamming 2. People are saying Zonic and Magisk. Is that what everyone is thinking?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that the rest of the team would have to be stripped, but
this is the thing. Like
it doesn't have to be, but it's more like at the moment from what we see right now, it just seems like there's not enough there that's outside of Magisk, so, who's always had the quality.
Here's the problem: the current roster moved. They suck. They get shit for taking the Saudi bag, right? NiKo's seen that now transpire for the better part of a year. People just with a hate boner towards this team, right? Because it's the Falcons, they're owned by Saudi Arabia. If NiKo makes the move and he just gets the highest paid in Counter-Strike, but doesn't achieve anything, right? Most people would say that he's better staying where he is right now. Yeah. That's what people would say, that he has a better opportunity.
Obviously he's not like he's badly paid in G2. Like, I don't know the exact number, but he's not. He's
somewhere up there. He's somewhere up there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's doing pretty well. So obviously more is more, and you know that's a whole discussion. But in no way is he not among the highest paid players in the world, like the top, I don't know, 5% probably of pros. That's impossible to be outside of that.
I would imagine that he has a pretty good contract.
Yeah. It is curious though. I mean, how much does it also say about G2 and how willing they are for him to leave? Because, you know, let's say right now you're kind of hinging on your two big players staying for you to have any sort of bargaining power. Obviously, Monte is the big one. I mean, that's your future. That's if you really want to have a future in CS, like you'll do everything to keep him. But are they in a place where they think maybe it's time to move on from NiKo, and that's why they're kind of willing to let him go early? Or is it just a case of like they know he would have left anyway at the end, and so we would rather get some money for him now than make him stay for another half a year or whatever is left in his contract? Like when I asked Peta a while back, the manager, he did say on record that like his and Hunter's contracts were going well into 25. So I would imagine cut somewhere halfway through the year, because that's kind of around the time that they re-signed. So like from G2's perspective, they're probably thinking, okay, let's get some money for NiKo now. They were also thinking the same way a year ago, right? I mean, it wasn't them that changed their minds. It was NiKo who suddenly made the U-turn and said, okay, fuck it. I don't want to play for a team that I'm not sure is going to play at all the big events at the moment, and then just changed his mind at the last minute, So, but G2 have been ready to let him go for a while. So I'm curious if that's also kind of a pushing factor from NiKo's perspective, like, okay, this team doesn't believe in me anymore, or this organization, maybe I'm not their franchise player anymore. It's they're probably going to be thinking about rebuilding around Monte instead of me, and so I would rather try my luck somewhere else.
Yeah, because this just opens so many different cans of worms, because we don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. We know that Falcons would like a marquee player like this, but we don't know the relationship essentially with G2. But in that logic that you're talking about there, you could talk of Malbs as like a stopgap in a way.
Yeah,
like for NiKo, yeah.
That's also a curious part about this, right? Like, let's say this has been an angle that's either NiKo or G2 have been exploring for a while, to offload him somewhere for a decent amount of money. Does the Malbs move make a lot more sense now, considering that they're just kind of ensuring their future, that they actually do have a NiKo replacement down the line, and they don't have to deal with it once NiKo is actually gone, like who knows if Malbs would be available, whatever, at the end of the year when everybody's looking at changes again after the Shanghai major, so maybe that was their thinking from the beginning, that, okay, we're going to get this guy now, even if he doesn't fit, because we know that NiKo is probably out by the end of the year anyway, so that's maybe I'm just
weren't they even kind of called out for this, but then someone said that it wasn't true, like Malbs is not a replacement for NiKo, but it does make a lot of sense. And
that's it. We don't know when the conversation started.
It made the most sense.
Even if
it's
not a replacement, it's an option if it happens.
Of course.
Like, obviously, he wasn't a replacement because NiKo is still on the fucking team. So if in like direct organization PR terms, this is correct. Obviously, he is not a replacement for NiKo because they're playing together. But could he be the guy that fits into NiKo's roles in the future? Obviously,
definitely,
because he played them. So there's no reason why he couldn't be. And also he's proving to be pretty good in these that he has now. So that's just like a double win that we have right now. But yeah, I think it makes sense. And the whole idea of like selling him now versus letting him walk in 6 months is the classic like football situation. Happens in every football club. People's contracts are expiring in 6 months to a year. They're gonna sell him for whatever they can rather than just like not earn that buyout price. So it makes sense. I think I'm still more focusing on the Falcon side and what this entails. I think obviously these leaks also happen for a reason.
I think Striker's onto something. Like, it would make sense if you were from the Falcon side to have this.
I mean, it is very good. It is very good for them, especially if you're looking to upgrade your roster more. And I'm sure that's what they're doing. Like, NiKo's not enough. That's what I said at the beginning. Like, that's what I was thinking first. There's got to be more. There's got to be more big players following if NiKo is the first. Like this. Even from NiKo's
this is what they did.
He had to have some sort of a confirmation that he wouldn't be the only one that Falcons would be getting. So
I mean, these same things happened last year. Like this whole we were witnessing the whole same rumor mill happening. Oh, NiKo is going. Oh, Monte Twist is going. Just putting out some of these ideas out there to get people to believe in the project that it is going to be a big international project worth joining, right? And to
be fair, only the NiKo one was ever kind of like seriously confirmed.
Close.
Twist even later said, like, I never really gave it a consideration, even from kind of a moral stance, right? And Monte was never an option. Like from what I was hearing the whole time, there was never a real consideration that he would ever move because G2 wouldn't let him go effectively, you know.
And then people are like, oh, why is this happening now? Obviously, they want to do this now so then they can use the next 3, 4, 5 months to get like 1, 2 more players at least. This is why, going back to what you said, Chad, like how many players they need to replace. They don't need to replace 4 players. But they need to replace at least ideally, yes. But, you know, you can always survive with some guy that's maybe not the best. You know, if they get everyone to be amazing and then they have like Modern as a support running in dying guy, I think they can be pretty, you know, satisfied, and then they can maybe change them in the future, whatever. You know, sometimes you also just need someone to take all the bad roles for a new team like this to function, for everyone else to be happy. So I'm not saying he needs to stay or someone else needs to stay. Obviously, the article from Sheep was super funny with a little paragraph was, we don't know who he's going to replace, but it's not going to be Magisk. It's like, oh, no fucking way. No fucking way. The one guy that's been playing good the whole time, the youngest, I think, maybe Sampaio is younger, but like pretty young still.
They're all somewhere. Those 3 are like Modern, him and Sampaio are like 20.
Yeah, he's pretty young and plays like 6 inverse roles of NiKo, like all the anchor spots. So like, oh, would he be the guy like NiKo is going to replace? Why the fuck would that happen? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, from that perspective, it all points to Dupree, right? Because he's kind of put in these star roles where
he also has a short-term contract, right?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, he was, I think it's until the end of the year, and that was kind of publicly stated from the beginning that it was just for the end of the season, or until the end of the season, and then obviously, you know, who knows later down the line if they both want to extend that was an option. But that would be the first place I would be looking if I was Falcons, because it also fits in terms of roles, right? I mean, that's always been kind of the position that's been working for Snappy the most. Anybody who he's put in these roles that Dupree is undertaking, you know, if you think about Nerds, you know, for example, from his ENCE team, you know, he was obviously performing really well in those, so it would make sense if NiKo took over that position.
But that's the thing. I think if I was NiKo and I was going to this project and I still haven't won a major, right? That's my key motivation. I've won a Katowice, I've won a Cologne. The major's the only big trophy that doesn't have. I would want to go with guarantees of big changes to have like a proper super team built, because I think if you look at what happened at the EWC, for those uninitiated, the reason I'm getting flashbang right now is because I'm on their website looking at the club championship thing. And this is like probably the worst possible look it could be for the event. But the Falcons fucking win the thing, which was like worth 7 million or something like that.
Yeah.
But they
also
won
by a fucking landslide as well.
Yeah, they won in Call of Duty Warzone. They won in some game called fucking Free Fire. They came runners up in Apex Legends and MLBB. I don't know what the fuck. Major League Bang Bang.
Mobile Legends Bang Bang.
Major League Baseball Bang.
Yeah. Then they came runner-up in Tekken and Rocket League, and then they had a couple of third places in Dota.
Yeah. They didn't even win as much as they were supposed to. Like from what I was talking to people, everybody was saying they're just going to win 3/4 of the events and they're just going to slam everybody.
I mean, they had like, I don't know, 25 teams, let's say, competing, and the second team had like 17 teams or some shit like that. I'm like exaggerating a bit.
Yeah,
like they had 5 Street Fighter players, including like the guy that won 3 tournaments in the last year. It's like they invested in everything and they won most of the stuff. And Counter-Strike, they didn't even qualify, so that was, you know, kind of a joke, right? But also when you're talking about when these talks happened, NiKo was literally in Saudi Arabia for EWC. He won the MVP, slightly contentious one, I feel like, at EWC. His picture was around the whole city, everywhere. He was the poster boy for this thing. I feel like there certainly have been some chats during that time that would have gotten this back on track. I feel like that's for sure,
because that for me is like when this conversation was started is key into trying to understand NiKo's decision making, which we never will unless he comes out and talks about it, right? But if the conversation really,
I mean, we also know that he can change his mind last minute. That none of this matters. True. So.
If the conversation ramped up like after Cologne, after they got blown out, and with that interview that he gave, if we're going to be going into body language and stuff, he seemed pretty dejected, or maybe dejected's not the right word, but he looked pretty fucking out of it, right? Like in the way that he looked shocked with the way that they had lost that game. And then they had such a strong start with the honeymoon, and now it's going to only be a 6 months. So Pitter's tweet is going to age perfectly, I would imagine. But yeah, do we expect to see more fallout from the G2 side? Like there was discussions last time this was happening that Hunter was going to go elsewhere, right? So they didn't really know what they were going to build around. I don't know. I guess we could speculate, which is fun. Do we think there'll be more G2 changes?
We definitely will speculate. This is all we're gonna do with this episode. All of this is a lot of speculation.
Yeah, fuck the results. I mean, who cares about a showdown, right? From what I was gonna say is last time when this was around the same time that this was happening was also the talks about Vitali looking for a bunch of players, for their 5th position, effectively as a Magisk replacement, right? I mean, among the main candidates that they had was Hunter. They never confirmed this, but at the time, that was a very clear indication that could have happened. And I think I'm not sure if it was the main reason why it all fell through, but I think NiKo coming back was part of it, or like deciding not to go to Falcons was a part of it, and so that could be a replacement for Mezzi, even though I'm not sure if that's necessarily what they would go for now after having kind of another or like a full year of CS2 to look at and seeing if he can keep up the same level that we knew him from CSGO, right? So, I mean, there's always a world, and as I said before, it's not like his contract is that long anymore, so that there could be a lot more fallout for sure.
And how it's going to affect this team on the stretch, like if you're Malbs, for example, you've just made this move, Snacks as well, and then you don't even know what the team's going to look like come end of the year, because like even though Malbs
or and it's even worse because it's not gonna have these players.
Yeah, because like now for Malbs, like he's just been bought for what was a lot of money reportedly, right? So with that in mind, he might get stuck within this team and have to be the star. And then are they going to be as aggressive with their type of moves as G2 to get big names over to them? Because we don't know how many teams this could affect. I'm curious to see who Falcons go after or who this might attract. Yeah. Like if things continue to be worrisome for FaZe, there's a couple of names within that team that might be worth a consideration.
I do think that honestly, as long as they can keep a hold of Monte for now, I mean, let's say his contract was for 4 years, and he has another year and something on that contract, then they're kind of fine, like let's say they keep Hunter, Monte, and Mobs. I mean, that's a pretty good core to build around, right? Like if you get it, let's say that Snacks doesn't work out, they're not happy with that. They get a different in-game leader, they get a different anchor instead of, what they were doing now where they had kind of NiKo and Mobs in positions that were clashing a lot. They just put Mobs in all the roles that he likes effectively. They put him in NiKo positions and they solved the whole role problem with just getting a decent anchor. Like if they get, I don't know, like it could be crazy enough, like a Rops, like if he's not happy in FaZe, or like a Jimmy, if they go after some of these players who are like highly sought after anchors and they get one of them for the money that they got for NiKo, then like they're still going to stay alive. It's not going to be a problem that they just lost NiKo because, as we said before, Mobs can come in as kind of his quote unquote replacement in terms of roles, and they can get a better anchor than they've had so far because that was the whole problem with the roster that they put together this summer. So I think it all hinges on this Monte question. Like, is he staying longer term, or at least in the foreseeable future, or is there a world where he would also leave? Because that's when you are really worried for G2 and who they can even get.
Yeah, and that I guess that's going to be like, now that you have a 6-month lead time of that, well, less than 6-month lead time of that, the likes of Monte are going to be seeing what is available to them and what are the best opportunities available to them, which doesn't necessarily just mean Falcons. There'll be other opportunities. There'll be other teams who'd be killing to have an AWPer like him on the squad.
I think the fun thing about Monte is like, what is a team that he wouldn't upgrade? And I don't think there is a single one.
Because he speaks Russian, he can literally go anywhere.
I mean, I guess it's anybody other than Vitali, unless Ivo wants to just
completely would love to fucking rifle.
Maybe
he would fucking love to rifle.
Maybe.
So even that argument doesn't really work. Like he would fit there. FaZe, Liquid, fucking, I don't know, Mouse Sports. Obviously, he's not going to go to Mouse, but any team.
VP, even Spirits, man. Like instead of Shiro, like who would not want Donk and Monte on the same team? Like 2 of the top 3 players at the moment. So it's there's a lot of options.
So
for
I
sure.
think I don't know if Falcons want him. Obviously, having NiKo sign first is going to be kind of an attractive thing for Monacy, but I think he has literally all of the options in the world to pick and choose from. Literally the only thing is the buyout and when his contract ends, and these are things that we don't know, which is also kind of crazy that there's so much mystery around these things. Yeah, would be much nicer to know at least when things end.
It's not often that you cannot figure out for the world of you like what's the truth behind this, because I've seriously heard like credible people say both options, you know, like end of this year and end of next year. Like it's insane that nobody really knows.
Well, something that I did want to ask is, considering the lead time on this conversation, is this unusual in the space?
What do you mean?
The fact that they're like, let's say that he did sign today. That's what we're only in August. Well, late.
I mean,
August.
Astralis have been doing this for 10 years.
I mean, Vitality did this with when they got into Astralis guys, right? I mean, they also got them. I don't know how many months ahead of time.
That was 3-4 months, I think. Yeah. So not super unusual for this to happen. And if I'm speaking just from NiKo and G2's point of view, I don't think it's in the short term that bad, because realistically their priority is the major, and it will remain the major. Like there's no, NiKo is going to Falcons, therefore he doesn't want to win with G2. Like there's actually, I feel like he even wants to win more now than if he's extending the contract, considering he's most likely not going to play with Hunter after that. So that's like a big thing. Obviously, every major counts. There's no reason why he would not want to win one before. So I don't see it as necessarily as a problem in any way for G2 in the short term. I think it's, you know, dedicated to winning. I think the worst thing for a team is uncertainty. Like if you have certainty what's happening, then you just deal with it. But if it's like, is he going? Is he staying? Is he going to leave in 2 months? He's going to bench himself. If you know he's going to play out the year, then I think that's pretty much fine. Yeah,
okay. I saw this in Twitch chat a little bit earlier, and I did also see this on some of the dirt sheets, and I want to get your guys' take on this. The question was, or not a question, it was a statement. I thought the reason this is happening is because G2 could no longer afford his salary, so they're looking to sell him. I'm not sure if NiKo willingly wanted to leave. Did you guys see that sentiment?
I think things about salaries are always kind of tricky. Like, what does that mean when people like, they can't afford this? Like, can they not afford the salary now, or can they not afford your plus 10, 15, 20% re-signing, you know, for in the future? Can they not afford where you want to go with the salary based on your level of stardom, playing, I don't know, performance and all of these things? So I don't know about that, but realistically, you know, they might have paid 600,000 for Malbs, but his salary is certainly not as big as NiKo's, probably half. So maybe they can do something similar with the next player, and then they can lower their salary for, you know, half a NiKo or a whole NiKo with like a few transfers. So, you know, that's kind of the idea there.
All right. Well, I think either way, this is going to have ripple effects down the stretch of the tail end of the year, just like it did last year. It's going to constantly be these different murmurs and conversations. And there's probably going to be a lot of leaks that come out that, you know, people either bail out of last minute, or people change their mind, or things are going to be a bit ambiguous, I imagine, as we head down the final few months of 2024. With this situation now rearing its head again. But I think it shows that, you know, the conversation around Falcons coming into Esports and Counter-Strike and wanting to make sure that they're a winning team, this is showing that they're still dedicated to that. So the fact that you know, if you're going to spend for NiKo, are they going to spend for other big players? I think they would, if they want to win.
Yeah, there's no... Like, let's be real for a second. If they just get NiKo and replace Dupree with NiKo, it's not going to make them... They're not going to win anything with that. Like, they might get to playoffs consistently, but that's not going to make them a championship winning teams on its own. Like, they have been horrible this year. Now, these last, like, 5 days, they've been playing pretty okay. And that's like a
little
separate.
spurt.
That's a separate point of discussion, and like how is that, like if they're a top 10 team on their own and they get NiKo, then we can talk about something, but they're not, and they haven't been at all this year, so they obviously have a lot more that they need to improve on to get there. So yeah, I don't think it makes any sense. And honestly, if he just goes to Falcons and they don't make, like, I would say 2 more changes, then it's just going to be a waste for everyone. It's going to be another of these, like, looking back at ENCE's last year's roster and being like, bring it back. Sad face.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's keep tabs on this. Do you guys have anything else you want to put out there regarding this change, or are we happy to,
I don't know.
slide
Do you
on
have
by?
anything to? What is your take? What is your opinion on this whole thing?
The lead time is one thing that I'm surprised about, but I guess it makes sense if you're trying to do big business on that scale. For me, it just you're right about the fact that the uncertainty can cause havoc. The thing is, the uncertainty doesn't exist for NiKo, but it does for the rest of the team. So and you're losing arguably the best rifler ever. So there's that hurts a lot. Without knowing the ins and outs from behind the scenes of what could impact this, is this something that NiKo wants to do? Is it something to do with money? Like we're never going to know any of those things. With how it just stands right now, it's not hugely exciting for anything other than NiKo's bank balance, because it's not going to affect his trophy cabinet in a positive way, right? That's as it stands right now, which NiKo's an ambitious guy. He doesn't strike me as the type of individual that's willing to make this type of a change to just go and sit and rot away and not succeed. So it must come with provisos. It must come with the willingness to make big changes, because I don't think this guy's just going there because he's definitely not going there because of the name. I'll put that much out there. So yeah.
But I'm also curious from the Falcons side, like, as much as I'm sure that they wanted to give him guarantees that he would be able to get bigger players, he's not going to have the sort of power in Falcons that he'd had in G2, where, he was their franchise player for such a long time that regardless of what people think, I mean, I know people think it's all NiKo's team, he's making all the moves and he's making all the decisions, but I mean, from what I know behind the scenes, that's not necessarily the case. A lot of the time, I'm sure he has input, and I'm sure they listen to him a lot, but it doesn't mean like he's going to point at a player and they'll say yes to him, So from that perspective, I'm curious about, Falcons. I'm sure they also kind of want to ensure themselves from letting this like kind of devolve into a hostage situation where NiKo's like, but you promised me this, and all this stuff. So I'm sure the power is still kind of with Sonic, but NiKo also knows that there's the money for them to get the players that they need if they can convince them that this is the team that they can join. So I think that's kind of like a situation where maybe NiKo's okay with letting go of some of that influence, let's say, and taking a bit of a leap of faith for somebody he knows will try to do their best and they will have the resources to give him the best lineup that they possibly can.
Yeah. All right, let's jump in. Let's move on for this. I'm sure we'll be talking about this plenty more in the coming weeks, months, as things build over that side of the fence. All right, let's jump into our next little topic, shall we? This is to do with PGL, reportedly set to acquire Esportal, everybody's favorite Spanish matchmaking. No, it's Swedish. There was something that came out not that long ago that Inferno Online and Esportal had gone bankrupt, right? Or they were claiming bankruptcy. And that kind of sucks for the Inferno Online a bit, because that was kind of like the mecca back when I was a kid, when you go to see all the Swedes at Inferno Online. It was really awesome going back there in 2013 and getting to see the place with my own 2 eyes. But the side of things which makes a lot of sense is PGL looking to have a service of their own, because the Esportal has it has an anti-cheat. I'm not sure how good of an anti-cheat.
I put out a tweet and I actually gained a lot of comments. I just asked the same question that you just asked. I've never played on Esportal. It's like, what's Esportal? Whatever. What is the anti-cheat like? And a lot of people replied, and apparently not that great.
Okay.
They said, I mean, it's better than nothing. That's essentially the gist of what people are saying. Okay. It's not no guarantee that you're safe. Obviously, no anti-cheat is. But maybe I think anything is better than nothing. And it's a platform, it's a service. You can organize qualifiers on it and all of these things. So maybe with some development, it could be even better.
Yeah, that's, I guess, the big talking point, right? What are their plans for PGL? I guess what they would want to do is have their own platform to be able to run their own online events on, especially going into next year if open qualifiers become a big thing that they're having to run, not just for majors, for example. They're having to run for their own standalone events. So it's going to be important that they don't just have to go to a Challenger mode / Across or Face It, which they would never do, right? So this is somewhere which they could have their own platform with its anti-cheat. I don't know what the intention would be behind the use of it. Like, I don't see them wanting to build out as a pug service as a competitor. Maybe they would. Really depends on what you're saying there, Prof, in terms of, well, first, I guess you're going to have, and I'm not a coder, so I apologize to all of those out there that I'm going to offend, but I imagine going in under the hood of someone's creation and trying to work out how it works without the developers of it part of this acquisition.
Yeah,
I imagine that's quite difficult. But that's an idiot.
But doesn't mean that they are not gonna. I mean, if they acquire the whole company, then they would acquire the people
all the people. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So because the company's not closed, right? It's just like filing for bankruptcy. So
okay.
It's in a weird situation. I mean, also, I don't know the details of this. It's also just a report, but seems to be pretty credible.
I mean, it would be very weird for PGL to just suddenly take over a Swedish company, and that's like without the people that are somehow connected to it, So from all that perspective, I mean, why would they? Yeah, it would be difficult for them to just put together a team that will suddenly be able to take over this entire platform that was run completely independently.
Well, I mean, I guess what I said about coding was probably right, but I made a massive misjudgment in thinking they would even need to do that in the first place. Okay, so if they keep the business going, I don't know how it would, like, because it obviously wasn't making money before.
Yeah, I mean, what you said, it kind of makes. I do see it more as not as a publicly using service. It's more like a, if it is going bankrupt and they can get it for a decent price, then they can just use it for what they need it for, and not try to like, we need to get as many people on it as well. Let's make our own FPL and rank S and like compete and throw away so much money on promotion, because realistically, getting people on a service is the most expensive thing, probably more expensive than developing a service in itself, right? So if they just use it as organizing qualifiers and stuff like that, so then people have to come there, I think it makes sense. And we didn't really explain, but some people understand, and many maybe don't, like why PGL wouldn't want to use Face It. But I don't want to call it a war, because it's not really a war, but it's
like a cold war.
Cold war. Strong disliking between like PGL and ESL, EFG, and essentially this whole conglomerate that is huge now is strong, and they don't want to bring their people onto Face It or EFG platform, right? So they would never do that, and then they have been using every other possibility in the past few years. I mean, back in the day they used Face It, but then Face It was acquired, so then they moved to Challenger mode, and that had its problems. I would say quite a few problems early on. So then why not control that yourself and just get rid of any outside problems if the possibility arises. So it's kind of nice. And also there's the other part of the story with Potty, legendary 1.3, 4, 5, 6 player, acquiring the Inferno Online and keeping that going, which for new people doesn't mean anything, but there are so many actually galleries and tournaments that happened back in the day with all of the legendary players from CSGO and 1.6 as well, in Inferno Online. So it's a huge piece of history, if nothing else, that place right there.
That's some good news.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone here said, bring back ESCA. well, I don't know what that would help.
Literally died.
I mean, that technically
3
exists,
weeks
but
ago.
yeah.
Well, for good reason. I'm surprised they didn't merge those products quicker.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's that piece of news. Jumping forward to our next piece. This is the one you discussed during the live show. Prof, you were talking about the attributes during the live show. Yeah. I've seen tweets going out there trying to explain to people this is a look at the type of player.
Yeah. Style, not performance.
Yes, which is going to be difficult to convey to people when they see numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers bad.
We have bait some work towards that though, like in terms of communicating it. So I'm hoping that we can kind of shift the narrative around that part, at least in terms of it not being necessarily performance related.
It's one of those things that's hard to go around, but at the same time, at the first great part is that people are very interested in it. People are looking into old stats, comparing, making graphics, and even if some stuff is wrong, it's better than if people didn't care, right? So it means we created something that's interesting. What was your takeaway now that it's out there and stuff has been posted? What did you notice that from the attributes?
Honestly, I haven't really delved into it a huge amount. When we looked at it on the show, that was the most time I spent looking at it. I haven't really looked at it live. I saw you guys tweeting some stuff out there to do with like, highest firepower at an event, right, for different players and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't spent a lot of time looking through it, right? That's the thing is, if I think of these players, I know what type of players these players are. So maybe they're not meant for me. I guess if I was looking for somebody from bait, okay, let me look at somebody.
Yeah, I
from
was going to say, like, it's a pretty good indicator of a player's role in the team, and then you can get a lot more out of that than the basic stats, unless you went really super deep into whatever their opening attempts are and all that stuff. Like it's much more easily recognizable the type of player that somebody is.
Yeah, well, so for example, I wouldn't know that Captain Kirka is the 91 as far as entering is concerned. So that would tell me that he's very aggressive.
Yeah,
pretty
on
much.
The T sides.
Yeah,
you know, right? But I guess it's probably better from that angle for more unknown players to see how those attributes kind of factor in for them as opposed to the household names, because most people would already have a pretty good idea of that. So that's a positive sign. You can filter looking for certain types of players and things that you're looking for. But there was another feature that you guys put out, which is better than that feature by a million miles. I can't believe it's taking you this long to do it. I've had to sit there making fucking Google calendars for the last fucking 5 years. And then you guys have gone and done this, hltv.org/calendar. It's about goddamn time. Now I don't need to make the calendar myself anymore. It's fantastic. I don't need to make it. This just exists. This is amazing. This is everything I needed in my life and more. If you haven't checked it out, everybody have a look.
You posted in chat already, okay.
It's so good.
It's pretty simple. Would be nice to have some of the stuff from next year, but I guess a lot of the, like PGL and Starladder put out the dates, but they didn't really announce fully the
ESL even, we don't know.
ESL didn't put out anything,
only know
right?
The last. That's why that's the only thing up at the moment.
So when we have more of that, the next year is also going to be more filled out. But yeah,
way more filled out.
Too filled out, right? So, but it's really nice to just have a decent overview, because like the event page that we have right now has so many like different events and sub events and stuff like that. That gets a bit overwhelming and hard to go through. But did you see the third thing that actually came out?
What was the third thing?
The contract details. Or the
I saw that
date.
on devices. Yes.
And that's something that we've been talking about for a while, and it's added. So the stuff that is public, we have added to the profile. You can see on the team, like contract details are essentially when it's going to expire. And it's actually fucking crazy how people justify not having that public and how everyone just goes along with it. For me, it doesn't make any sense. Like as a player and as an agent, it's in your interest to have this public 100%. You can't argue against it. If you are an agent arguing against it, like I can't trust you anymore. Like having that out and having every org in the world know that in 6 months your player is going to be free means so much, because other people will approach you much more likely than, maybe his contract is 3 years, so it's going to be a huge buyout, right? Stuff like this, being transparent and open would just help them a lot. And I'd argue for good orgs, it would also be in their interest, because if you're making a move, if you're the team making the move, it's in your interest to know these things. Obviously, the top orgs and some of these players are going to be talking anyway through agents, and they can find out these things. But as we know, like we are now talking about the Monacy situation, and people don't know when it's coming out. Like when is his and this is potentially the best player of this year, and people don't know when his contract is running out. Isn't that crazy? Like you can't get a clear answer about Why is this a thing?
Don't they use it as a weapon? Like, isn't that why it's not publicly known?
Yeah, and some.
I mean,
teams
for G2, this is obviously very good, because they can kind of hold it over everybody's heads because they can be like, yeah, okay, you're not touching our player, basically.
Yeah, that's used as a weapon, right?
Yeah.
It's for them to protect their asset as opposed to their asset being able to explore its freedom.
That is effectively the main reason why it's not being shared as more of a common thing. Some organizations do, and especially with certain players. I mean, you can see how it correlates quite highly to the players that are kind of franchise players for teams, which, Monte and like Donk are pretty much the exceptions to that, because, look at Device. We know when his contract is running out, somewhere end of 26. Zaiwu just re-signed, and we know how long that contract is. I forgot what it is now, but that info is public. We knew Simple. I think we knew at least vaguely what that was even at some point, I think. So like a lot of these big players, likely because they have agents that, like, obviously they have the leverage to be able to use with the org to tell them that, okay, like we just want this public, because you're not going to go to Zaiwu and say like, yeah, we're not sharing your contract details, and that's a deal breaker for us, otherwise you're just not in our team. Like, that's not going to happen. It could have happened with Monte, who just had his first big team. I don't think that's going to happen to him again after this.
Yeah, so just a quick one, because we're talking about the orgs that aren't letting their players say. But if there are players who are allowed to say and they want it on their profile, can they just reach out to you guys?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Stuff
I mean,
like
we've been reaching out. We've been
Yeah.
reaching out to people, and it's just been a bit difficult, exactly because kind of it's not in the organization's interest, and then there are NDAs in place, so not even the other side can share it a lot of the time, which is perfectly understandable. Like, we know that it's not like nobody's responsible in reporting all that information to us, but obviously we would like for the things that we can share, we would like to have as much data on that in our database as possible, because that's just good for everybody.
Okay. All right, let's do this. Lucas, run an ad break. We'll come back, we'll do Skinionaire, and then we'll get into the RMR qualifiers conversation.
The world is changing quickly. Showdown.
The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xbet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph, and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at hltv.org/shop.
All right, we're back. Let's get into Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Skin Place. Type Skin Place in chat right now for your chance to enter the draw. 5 questions, multiple choice. If we get all 5 correct, we give away a $50 skin on the show. Skin Place in chat right now, everybody. Get it going, get it spam, get it happening. All right. What's the theme this week, Prof? Did you do it?
Yeah, we did. It was attributes related, actually, and I think
Fuck.
so. You're gonna have a great time. But
Fuck,
there's some things
look
that
at
are,
it.
That's for Chad, yeah?
Yeah.
Ah.
Can I help in this or not?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's give it a go, shall we? I apologize to everybody in chat before we get going. I may fuck this up completely. Attribute related. All right. Question number 1, who wants to be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Skin Place. Which one of these players didn't record 100 firepower big event? Donk, Rain, Twists. Oh, Jesus Christmas.
I mean, it should be easy, man, because 2 of these have the 3 out of top 4 highest rated events. I don't actually know this for sure, but I like logically it seems.
So Donk and Rain. Or Donk and Twist. So then the answer is Rain.
I can't. Ask
Did you
misunderstand
misunderstand what I just said?
Yeah, I did. 2 of them have. Which
two of these guys have like the top 3 ratings, along with NiKo, have like the top 3 ratings ever at an event, at a big event.
I'm just trying to think when it would have been Rain.
Do you remember NiKo's?
That was 2017.
seconds.
Fuck, I'm gonna put Twist. Fuck it.
There we go. It was Rain at the same tournament. Because
Okay.
FaZe stomped so hard, they had like 170 on NiKo and
multiple
160
players
something on
who
Rain or
had
something. I
this-
don't know.
Okay, all right. Well, that's kind of a trick question to start with. He didn't even get the MVP.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have NiKo who's like pulling records, you know, then
Yeah, all right. We got 1 for 1. We somehow made it through. Question number 2. Which one of these stats is not used to calculate entering? Traded,
Death per
assists,
round. Yeah.
assist per round, opening attempt. This is not entering. You guys have a difference between entering and opening, though, don't you?
This is correct.
I like this. Yeah.
So I guess if it's a trading stat, you want to be traded, or if it's entering stat, you want to be traded at worst. An assist, I guess. Is it opening attempt, striker?
I don't know. Try it.
But it doesn't make sense that it would be opening it. This is not used to calculate entering.
10 seconds.
I'm gonna lock it. It feels like it should be assists per round. Okay, I'm locking in the initial opening attempt
Good job.
percentage. Explain that.
I mean, the point is that kind of the people who go for side entries are usually the ones who deal enough damage to get assists. So it's kind of, it goes hand in hand, you know. It doesn't necessarily, it's not the only indicator, but in combination with the trades, it kind of is of being traded rather. It kind of is a good indication of who's the one running into sites first, you know, rather than going for openings, which could be anywhere at the beginning of a round, you know, absolutely irrespective of them being in a pack or trying to enter a bomb site or anything like that. You know, if you look at oppers, for example, like they're never going to be entering, right? They're going to be going for openings. That's why those two are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, the main point is like entering is going into a bomb site, and opening is just start of the round, which can be
PTOT sided.
could be anywhere, you
Yeah.
know, can be making a play from apps on Mirage, killing someone in the back, you know, whatever.
Okay. 2 from 2. We're somehow fluking this one. We're just like an ape putting C in as every answer, and it's working so far. All right, question number 3. Which attribute is the lowest for Monacy in 2024 stats? Entering, opening, clutching. Well, by the logic we were just talking about right now, I would go with entering. But
Makes sense.
yeah, I'm going to go with entering. Correct answer is entering. Logic.
I was like,
Hang
half
off.
of me thought this was like a trick question. It was going to be clutching because he just doesn't have a lot of clutching this year or something.
It's
Wait,
paying off.
He does. I don't know what the stat is.
I mean, it's
but
also time alive. Yeah, it's kind of like related to that. So
yeah, essentially staying last in the round. But yeah, some clutches.
Okay. Question number 4. A high utility attribute is usually reserved for in-game leaders, but 1-star rifle is averaging 83 for the year. Who is it? NiKo, Quesarado, Naf. High utility
I can say that the other
attribute.
two are also like 70 something. So
Okay.
it's not
So
like
they're all
shit.
pretty high.
yeah.
I would probably go with Naf based off of some of the positions that he plays. He would have to throw utility from spawn. And then he's also going to be retaking sites. I don't remember a Quesarado nade, but I remember a Naf nade. I'm going to go with Naf. correct answer is Queserado. Well, I should have remembered a Queserado nade, shouldn't I?
I'm actually curious to see what the best thing is for him, like from the sub, because I was also surprised by this. So utility damage per round, apparently the highest. Does he play Beyond Inferno? That maybe helps. But his utility damage per round is very high. He has a utility kills actually pretty high. Flashes thrown, flash assists, kind of above average. So he's doing a lot, it seems like.
Okay. Yeah. Well, throwing grenades. Good on him. All right, question number 5. Game has the longest average time alive per round, but who has the shortest?
Yakindar, Donk, or Flames?
You kind of want to just say Yakinda, don't you? Just because.
It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But actually, I don't know the answer to this question, but that was my first thought as well. But they're all like in that area, you know?
Yeah.
But then Flames is playing CT anchor, you know, positions. Yeah. He's playing them aggressively, though, sometimes. So it's kind of difficult.
It's got to be either Donk or Yakinda.
But I would also think that, yeah.
As the shortest. Well, I feel that it would be poetic if it is Yakinda.
It'll be completing the circle, exactly. Yeah, so it's like clear opposite.
Follow that. We'll follow that. It's our best course of logic right now. And it is correct. Look at that. Who would have thunk it? It's all come full circle. 4 out of 5 for a topic that I had no idea about. That ain't bad. That ain't half bad.
Your energy right now is literally like you have been to a test in school and you're like, it was a blitz test. You didn't know it was coming. You're so annoyed by this. Why do you have to? School sucks.
But I got away with it. I got away with it. They gave me the pass mark. Actually, they gave me a B. I didn't get an A. They didn't go, listen, mate, you fucking smashed this, but you've done all you needed to do to progress to next year. And that's all the high schools. No, that's not true, guys. Pay attention in high school. It's very important. Shout out to JH-77, our winner of Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Skin Place this week. You win the 4th amount. What's the 4th amount, Lucas?
$15, I think.
Okay. $15. All right. Nice. 15 schmackaroos. We'll reach out and we'll get you your skin. Awesome stuff, guys. All right. I really enjoyed that. Okay. Let's get into RMR qualifiers, shall we? Can we start with the Result transfer saga, please?
We can do that.
I would love to start here because there was something in an interview about getting stabbed by a hobo, and that's pretty much.
All you think about every day.
It's like someone explained this to me. Why is he wanting to get stabbed by a hobo?
I mean, you didn't follow this whole
one I
situation?
didn't read. This prof even linked it to me, and I quickly opened it and scrolled through it quickly, and I was like, "This is too much."
I mean, this is a reference to his post on Telegram, obviously, where all of the banger stuff happens for everyone Eastern than me and Striker, essentially.
Okay.
But during this transfer saga, so first it came out that they're swapping Clax and Result, and then it came out that it's not going to happen. Something fell through. Aurora's like, nah, we're not going to give him over. And this is when, obviously, Result came out with kind of a emo boy statement post on his Telegram. And part of it was, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to be stuck on the bench now. I'm not going to play the major qualifiers. And that's why he was like, I'm just low-key
He's going to go wander the streets of Belgrade and get stabbed by a hobo. I'd get lucky enough to get stabbed by a hobo or something along those lines. It's such a
little bit of hyperbole going on there. Yep. Okay.
I hope so. At least I hope so. That there's a
I hope he wasn't emo enough for that. Really, yeah.
But do we know about why this whole benching saga or the fact he wanted to change teams? Do we know anything behind that in the first place?
There's
why
a lot
Aurora
of
were making this trade.
There's a lot of little rumors and statements and stuff that happened. I don't know the full truth. Like based on this interview, he seems to be downplaying a lot of it, saying, well, it is what it is. He wanted to leave, and he communicated that to the team and to the team, but not the players. I guess to the org in some way. What the? PARIVISION's RMR disqualification overturned after appeal.
I was waiting for us to get into that discussion because we knew we had a report coming about this.
Well,
I have the notifications for HLTV and just came out right now.
Well. All right. Well,
let's finish this. Let's finish this. And then we can go into that one.
Resol's now on 9 Pandas and Klax is now on Aurora. Is that the long and the short?
I mean, yeah. Then, but that happened kind of last minute, so they managed to like strike some deal in some ways. But there's a lot of bad blood, it seems, between Result and Aurora. There's a bunch of like Twitter posts when he was leaving, kind of describing him as a backstabber, kind of a stabby situation. They didn't really like him leaving and blah blah. So huge little drama, huge tier 2 Russian drama.
Let's get into some more tier 2 Russia drama then, shall we?
Whoa, what the fuck? Let's I have to see what happened. Actually,
I guess we can read this.
Well, you guys can read that, and I'll kind of mute me while I talk to the people at home, and then we can read through the article, all right? Because what we need to do is we need to state what happened. PARIVISION were disqualified up until moments ago, apparently, because they were using the coach. Is it just Finn? Is that how we say it? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
And he was banned from Volvo. And essentially what was going to happen was there was going to be a bunch of more matches that were meant to be played tomorrow between the likes of BLEED, Monte, and there was one more was a Koi, to play off for the PARIVISION spot. But now this news has just dropped. I guess. Do you want me to read it? Do you guys want to read it? How do we want to get out of this?
I just want to read below the headline, the lead. Finn appealed his ban with ESIC months ago, but the esports watchdog failed to share its decision with Valve.
Now
that's all I want to read for now.
That's probably all we have to read.
Yeah, you can do the rest, but this is.
Hadn't we already lost faith in that body? Hadn't
internally screaming?
We have, yes.
Internally screaming.
And if we needed any more reason to treat them like the fucking joke that they are, if this turns out to be the case, then yeah, because this whole process is so lengthy and we have to remember so much stuff, and now we're on the spot about it live. But there was something with the coach bug.
I have pretty much everything in my head because I've been kind of researching this for the last few days.
Hit us up then, Striker, because
what did you want to talk about specifically?
Well, obviously the fact that he's put in an appeal for his ban was based off of something to do with how they recategorized the coach bug at a certain point, right?
Yes. I mean, originally, so the way that ESC decided these original bans was they made these demerit points, right? And that was based on how many matches you used the bug in, or you were found to have kind of been stuck in the bug in. Because it doesn't always correlate that you actually use it, and for how many rounds. So you got, and originally Finn got 3 points for more than 2 matches because it was like 6 matches, I think, and another 2 points for more than 25. I think he was in 34 rounds, if I remember correctly, and so he got 6 demerit points, and that's enough for a permanent ban. 5 would have been enough for 5 major bans, which would have expired by now. That's effectively what happened in the end. And so it seems that what happened is, I don't know exactly what the appeal was about necessarily, but it was enough for him to get the demerit points reduced to 5 instead of the 6. Okay. So effectively his ban was supposed to elapse now. For this major, he was supposed to be allowed to play or to be involved in the major, So effectively what happened is ESIC accepted this appeal, but just never shared the information with Valve. And this has only come about now after they got disqualified from the RMR. PARIVISION had launched an appeal. They tried to explain that, okay, we have this information that our coach got the appeal successfully, and that's why this is being overturned at the moment.
Okay. So essentially, Valve are Kassad haters. Is that what you're saying?
I'm so lost for words. This is so bad. This is so bad. And let's be real. A part of this problem, why this happened, is that ESIC don't even update on their website, because if they did, like one of many journalists or people from the org would have been like, oh, it's right here, guys. We have been out and banned, because without that, obviously, why would we think that this guy's his appeal got accepted and his ban essentially would be off now? He would be unbanned. Why would we think that if there's nothing nowhere? And going back, like Striker, you can confirm this, but a lot of the stuff from the original coach bugs era and the bans is no longer available even on the website. So,
yeah, even the actual PDFs where they listed all the coaches and which rounds or which games they were spotted in the bug in, like all this we had to kind of dig up from like old saves because it's literally is no longer available on the ESEG website. Like after some rebuild of the website, it just doesn't exist, and a lot of the proof that just isn't available anymore. So you just have to kind of work with what you have, which is kind of ridiculous, at this point.
Was there ever an angle of this, if we just step back a moment before we start talking, like just focused on the appeal and the ramifications of that? Was there ever anything that was taken issue with people being in the room while they were playing?
It wasn't. What was the question one more time?
Well, because
it is an issue. It is against the rules.
Issue. It is against the rule. Like it is clearly stated in the rules that you're not supposed to have people in the room, but it was never the reason why PARIVISION got disqualified. It was specifically that it was a Valve banned individual who was present in the room, with the team, so which is, that was even the original reason why Valve put this rule in the rulebook in the first place, was in the aftermath of all these coach bug bans. They figured we cannot trust coaches. There were also a lot of stream sniping accusations going on at the same time that this coach bug situation was happening. So that kind of break of trust was enough for Valve to just say, okay, nobody in the room. Like this is what we're just putting it down to for the online matches, right? And that also is what kind of exacerbated their rules about kind of like touching players during matches online and all this stuff. Some of these things that are a bit ridiculous, when you think about LAN, but that are in place right now exactly because of that scandal, because of those situations, where 37 or something coaches were banned and only very few of them actually reported the fact that the bug existed, and some of them used it to their advantage. So
no, I get all that.
It's a bit ridiculous.
But was there a punishment for them having people in the room?
No, because there was also this whole Passion UA video where there was clearly somebody filming the guys, as they were qualifying for the RMR. So it's not only them and I'm sure that also it must have happened with a lot of teams, to be honest. Like I can't say who, but it's obvious that people just didn't really take this rule too much into account into online matches, because probably nobody reminded them of it before, and you're not going to read an entire major rule book to adhere to, ahead of time, unless you're kind of reminded of course they should, but
yeah,
a lot of when you have 60 whatever it is, I don't know how many teams participated in this whole, I'm sure a lot of them weren't even aware that this rule existed. Otherwise they wouldn't have filming crews in the room and especially not putting out the fucking evidence on Twitter, so clearly this rule kind of came over people's heads, and I think that's also why maybe it wasn't taken so strictly as just having people in the room, but it was really specifically only about having a guy who got banned from majors in the room.
Okay. Well, the roster is, in case anybody's missed it, it's Kick It. How do we say this lad's name? Belchanok?
Belchanok. Apparently it's a small squirrel or something in Russian.
A small squirrel. Okay. Patsy, Alpha, and Artfrost.
It's a nice roster. It's PARIVISION had some decent combinations of player, but didn't really achieve much.
It was Jerry. Jerry was first in charge of their roster, right? But then Alpha came in not that long ago. Yeah, and it's changed. It's only one of the same players since then, I think.
Yeah, it has changed a lot since then. Okay, so I guess this is a breaking story. So
yeah, just to kind of go back to the original story. So a Finn coach who registers to play the qualifier. No one says anything, even though by everyone's expectation he is banned from playing this. People think he's banned, but no one says anything. He's coaching through the whole thing. He gets spotted because of the video they posted, which they shouldn't be in the room in.
Yeah.
People are like, okay, first of all, you can't be in the room. Secondly, this coach, he's noticed banned. He is banned.
Yeah.
So Perfect World is like, okay, let's look into this. Maybe talk to Valve. I don't know exactly what happened there. They come back. They're like, he is fucking banned. You guys are also now banned. So you're kicked out of the qualifier, disqualified because you're using a banned coach. You can't do that. Let's just stop there for a second. They're using a banned coach. even though he can't coach. He literally cannot coach. He can't be in the coach slot. He can't talk to them while they're playing. Still get disqualified somehow. This, first of all, this doesn't even make sense. This doesn't make any sense. They could have just been like, okay, you can't use this guy because you didn't use him, but they kind of used him, or did they not? We don't know. We have this rule in place about you can't talk to the people or can't be in the room. Yeah. Completely unenforceable, completely, as Striker explained. Yeah. Completely honest. But they were like, okay, this guy can't be here. You're disqualified. And then they're like, oh, actually, he is not banned anymore. We just didn't know because our partners on this very important matter forgot. They just forgot to tell us that they decided something. They didn't like update that one fucking Google sheet that we share about these things. And now you guys are going to the RMR. You're going to China after all. Guys, it's all fine. And this is so bad. It is also so bad.
It is also weird from the handling perspective, though. And I don't know if this is about the organizers or just like lack of communication back and forth or what happened. Because, I mean, when I was asking PARIVISION about this, and I have to, and it seems to be the case that they weren't talked to about this until the final decision came in. Although I would have expected them to at least kind of ask about what is happening, you know, because there was obviously a lot of rumors behind the scenes. And I even asked PARIVISION, I don't know, like 24 hours before the actual decision came in, because, I mean, we kept hearing about this. We saw the video. I was trying to figure out what was happening before we posted anything about it. And I mean, it's kind of on them that they also haven't checked, but it seems to be kind of on perfect rule that they haven't got in touch with them to figure out, like, okay, what's the situation here? Why did you submit this guy if you knew he was banned? You know, all this stuff that could have been resolved before this disqualification even came in the first place, you know. So it just seems very mishandled from all kinds of angles, to be honest.
You know, sorry, you can go. I have like building on topic, not really on this.
Mine is just returning to this point, like regarding the commission, and probably the way what we do is looked at overall. The thing is called Esports Integrity Commission. How many video games fall under esports?
I don't know how many they actually oversee.
It doesn't even matter.
A bunch of them, yeah.
It doesn't even matter, because if they were just for Counter-Strike, then it would be the Counter-Strike Integrity Commission. But it's not. It's the Esports Integrity Commission. It would be nice if we could just have something that services just us, because we've like
that is a bit like, that's always what I've hated about esports in a lot of ways, is that like everybody wants to do everything instead of just focusing on their own thing. That's why we at HLTV were kind of like, we're only doing CS. Like, we're not gonna focus on a million different things, you know, and all that stuff. So because, I mean, it's just going to dilute the product, right? And so that kind of fits for a lot of these things. It's just like you cannot be as good at your job if you're just splitting your focus this much.
Esports is just a word these days that is used by the, I was going to say the woke mind virus, is used by the normies. Like the normies, when they talk about people playing video games, they're doing that esports thing, right? But like, we've got to, we're not, with considering how much players are getting paid and how much prize money there is and the amount that goes into running all of these events all over the world, we need to branch away from that. Like, we're not going out, like, it's not a celebration of esports when fucking Cologne or the Major or something is on. It's just Counter-Strike. Like, it doesn't mean we hate other games or anything like that, but it's just something that has it's so popular. It needs its own things, right? It needs people who are hands-on with just Counter-Strike and who are actually focused on just Counter-Strike for all of these different scenarios.
A nice umbrella term, but it's not, you know, in real hands-on life, it doesn't mean anything. It's not like I'm a football fan, so yeah, you're a sports fan. Like I am, but it doesn't really mean anything. Like, I'm not going to buy a basketball because I watch, you know, fucking Arsenal or some shit. It doesn't really do anything for me. So yeah. Just for people in chat, like, yes, PARIVISION did almost nothing wrong in this whole thing. I just clarifying that it's not about them for the most part. It is the part about having people in the room. Yeah, I think this is just a stupid rule from Valve from the start to try to make this happen. Doesn't make sense because it's unenforceable. So what is even the point? You're just punishing some people that are actually following the rules versus others that are gonna cheat essentially on a very small scale and be smart enough about it that they don't post a social media video. Essentially, if you know that it's illegal, then you won't be caught. If you don't, and you're stupid enough, then you will be caught, which is sad. My side point and thread on this whole thing is when the closed qualifier started, we were talking in Discord a bit, and there are so many games happening, a lot of chaos, like fucking Oscar going 2-0 rating and over 4 maps, just like destroying everyone, qualifying, and these Czech teams and all of the like different little things. I was watching Sinners stream their games. There was like the owner, CEO, and some guy. They're like casting, like losing their shit as they qualify. There's like these little moments, so joyful for me. And the open qualifiers that we didn't have this time, always so many cool vibes. Seeing, like, I don't know, Get Right and Forest and Guardian team up, and then they get banged out by some like random 3000 elo guys, and these guys like have living their best life. Then they also eliminate Astralis or some shit. Amazing storylines, always so fun. And I'm like, why are we moving away from this? It's such a shame. And next year maybe we don't even have close qualifier, maybe we don't have RMRs, we don't have any
Maybe
of that.
we're wrong.
Maybe we're wrong, but in theory, like, this is what people are talking about and everyone's accepting. It's like, why are we accepting this? And now I see stuff like this happening, and I completely understand why Valve want away from all of this shit. Because when there's 64 teams playing an closed qualifier, and there's open qualifiers, there's so much stuff that they need to take care of, versus, well, it's a major one tournament, these X days, 2 times a year, 1 month, and they're hands-on for that, and then everything else is kind of chill. I understand, but I hate it. At the same time, they'll have work every day of the year because they want to like run their own circuit, essentially. So it's not really like they can relax either. So it is what it is.
Well, I guess we can transition into talking a bit more overarching regarding the RMR qualifiers. Striker, you had great success.
Yeah. I mean, I predicted that they would all go out and that they would all qualify. So obviously I couldn't have lost.
And you were right. They all qualified, right?
Yeah, all 3.
Which is crazy.
I didn't expect that, to be honest.
That crazy?
Like, realistically, that is kind of crazy, because it should be by far the biggest representation we should have at an RMR. I'm trying to count it up. It's all 5 from Sinners, then 3 guys from Unity, and I think 4 guys.
I think 4 guys from
Eclots.
Unity and 3 from Eclot.
Oh yeah, the other way. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, the only time we had a Czech team at the RMR was Sinners before Antwerp. I don't remember if they were actually at any other one, but we didn't have 2 different teams. Just sometimes we had some Slovakians. We have kind of joint scenes, and they all play in the same tournaments and all that stuff. So we kind of all consider it as one big family. But yeah, this is very cool for the scene. I didn't expect it, especially from the Unity guys, who have like a bunch of players who have been on the scene for, I don't know how many years. They've been kind of at the top of the scene, but never really broke through anything beyond, being like a top team or like top players within Czech Republic. They didn't really do anything internationally up until now. So that is curious. I'm not even sure what it's down to be honest. It just seems like such a sudden blip.
Well, that's the thing, right? So now the RMR, there's going to be 32 teams. So it's going to be, the field is going to get a lot more intense, right, in terms of the quality of play. But we lost OG, Koi, Bleed, right? Who else did we lose?
Monte, ENCE.
ENCE, yeah.
I can't believe, like, it's not a surprise to me that OG's not there, right? And it feels like at this point I'm just bashing on them, but yeah, the rosters have had left a lot to be desired for the majority of that team being together, and now finally I think the wheels have fucking fallen off. I think, I don't know, like there's definitely the names we just read out are more household names than, for example, these Czech teams that we're talking about. Same with, for example, like your Passion, like Bait have definitely earned respect on their name, right? And they have Headtrick and MPL, and MPL has been putting up some decent numbers if I've been paying attention. That kid, now that he's not being forced into the spotlight like he was before, is actually getting a chance to grow as a player. I think Cloud9 making it. We get to see more from that roster. Yeah, I'm just looking at the list right now.
I mean,
I'm surprised Big
Sashi made
qualified.
through Cloud9. Yeah, you're surprised Big qualified?
Yeah, Big lost to Attacks the other day, didn't they?
No way, really?
I'm pretty sure they lost to Attacks. They did. They in CCT Season 2 Europe. This is actually, they lost to them today.
That's crazy. They lost to Attacks.
Yeah, they lost to Attacks today.
That's the last time that happened.
That's tough. It
was overtime on Dust 2 on the last map. German classic.
They just got screwed in the Rio qualifier too.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Right now, there's so many different things going on. This week of Counter-Strike has been crazy.
There's teams playing back-to-back series, in
For
3
different
separate
events,
tournaments
right?
and
Yeah.
shit. It's crazy, man. It's
No,
it's
I'm
a lot
watching
of
Falcons.
Too. It's yeah, exactly.
Falcons in the morning on Betboom Dacha, in the evening on the Showdown, and now on Rio as well. And other teams are playing the close qualifiers. To be honest, there's a little comment from Magisk where he said about this whole thing. He said, what did he say? We're in a position where we need to grind. It's a bit different from what it used to be, but that's the world we live in now, and we need to accept it. What do you say? If every other tier 2 team is capable of playing tournament after tournament, then we need to put in the effort and get the data from the official games and learn from it. It's yeah, I mean, this is where you are right now. So, and it's realistically, it is kind of working out for them. So
we can remove the asterisk.
Yeah,
asterisks now.
They look good though. I think that you bang on there. I think it is a good thing for them to be playing so much, right? Because it tends to be when you're more of a veteran player, you aren't putting in those type of reps, and that's what the younger guys with their obsession, right? They're putting all the reps, and they're learning so much just from the pugs they're playing or playing a shitload of officials and stuff. And it's not through learning through watching; it's learning through doing, and maybe that'll kick Falcons up a gear. They've only played 77 official maps together. I wonder how many of these have been played online. It'd probably be a lot for a team. Only 11 have been played online. So they're going to get in a few more of those. And that's what I'm saying about a crazy week of Counter-Strike. So we had these qualifiers going on. We've got Bet Boom. We had the Showdown, right?
And now Rio qualifiers
CCT,
as well.
Rio's on. It's just nonstop Counter-Strike. And I think that's what next year is going to be like as well, with these patches like this of just fucking absolute events just coming out of our ass, really. I watched a bit of the Oceanic Open stuff. The closed stuff starts tomorrow. Talon lost after they'd already qualified, but they did lose. They lost against Art of War or something on Ancient. It was a seeding game, but it looks like it worked out pretty well for them in the bracket. I was having a look. They had to play against Semper Fi, which is Ben the Legend, if people remember him. His son Savage, that team, and they started a little project with Latvians, one of them being Keen. And they went down to Australia/New Zealand because I don't think the Latvians could get into Oz for whatever reason. But those two teams, Talon and Semper Fi, had to play each other in the final round to qualify for the closed qualifier. So Talon had to eliminate them, unfortunately. I wasn't keeping up with much of the China stuff other than the fact that it was a sheer shitload of teams. Wasn't it 8,500 teams signed up or something?
Yeah, Striker. Actually, I think Lucas posted it in our chat, not the Danish, the Spanish one, that there was also some, I don't know, on perfect world thing that you get for playing the qualifier or signing up at least. So that maybe boosted the numbers. And I think there's only
I don't know
2,000. How many teams that actually played?
I don't know exactly. I mean, I don't have this info corroborated, so I wouldn't want to throw out the number. But there was something like that's was posted somewhere that there are some badges on the platform, and that's quite a lot fewer teams got it. I never got the final number of the teams that actually played, but it seemed like there were a lot of disqualifications in those first few rounds, before it got down to some real matches. So obviously that number was inflated, and a lot of those people have jobs, couldn't even play in that from the morning and stuff like that, from what I was talking to some of these Chinese guys.
Might be a little bit inflated then.
So it was inflated, but it was still some insane number. It was still somewhere in the thousands of teams that actually played. So that's insane,
Especially with the major being there later in the
I guess
year,
it is different there because Perfect World is the distributor. So does everyone just play on it? Is it instead of matchmaking?
They have to. I think it's through a different client, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe for them it's just in game you just click and you sign up.
No, I think there's I think they have some sort of a platform, same as at least for the tournament side. I think that same as something like that. But I don't know exactly. So I don't want to I want to say.
Out of these three teams that I noted, I think Monte, kind of sad for them, but they also went through so many changes. I watched the ENCE Monte game a bit. Hades was going big, helped them win that game for sure. But they didn't make it through in the end. I think the BLEED one, someone wrote in chat, like considering this roster that they don't even get to the close qualifier is insane.
The RMR.
Yeah. Through the close qualifier. I mean, yeah, to the RMR. I think that's it doesn't make sense to me almost.
Well, who'd they lose to?
They lost to Gamer Legion in the last game, and they had, what was it? They had a 12-3 lead, I think, on Mirage. They were on the T side.
That's right.
They needed one T side round. It was horrible. It was really horrible. I was watching Donna's stream. I couldn't after a while. It was rough, so I went to like Heat and stream to have less stress while watching this game.
Less stress.
And there was literally like an after plant. There was a 4v4 or something, I don't know. And BLEED had 2 players on Mirage in Sandwich, 1 guy on Tetris, and then a guy somewhere on site. It was like, what kind of a after plant are you playing with 2 guys? And then they're like, well, we have 2 guys in Tetris now, so we have to swing, I guess. And then they just died, and it was like, okay, this is it, I guess. That's it.
Oh dear. Yeah, it doesn't look good over there, does it? Yeah. Someone just mentioned my webcam just quickly. I can't fix it. Don't know what the problem is. I know you mentioned the lights, the hertz.
It's going to be fixed.
We'll get better
soon.
webcams. Don't worry about that. There'll be better webcams coming. Yeah, I'm just looking at all these results.
For comparison.
Yeah, probably looks a little bit different. I'm just looking at all these results and seeing if anything's leaping off the page or if there's anything really worth like getting into it. Like I said with OG, I don't know what people's expectations with that org are. Monte, like you said, yeah, a little bit sad.
We have what are the odds for ENCE, just so you know.
Yeah, let's do it.
When we get there,
Let's do it. Let's do it. What are the odds? Let's have a look. I think we're getting to the wind up point anyway. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about this week, really. Okay, Prof, what are we doing? What are the odds?
What are the odds?
What are they?
That Glaive plays for ENCE at Elisa Masters. The date is October 15th to 20th.
Whoa.
Wow.
You did a short-term version of this. Okay.
Holy moly.
It was like until the end of the year, so I got some pushback from Dimitri. He's like, all of our stuff isn't. Can we make it a bit shorter? And like realistically, if I said until the end of the year, I don't think everyone would just say no based on the results so far.
What are they even doing over there, man?
What are they cooking?
What are they even doing?
I feel like ENCE right now is like, I don't know.
I feel like they're fucked.
They're trying to cook an omelet on like a cutting board. This is how I feel.
So the roster right now.
Can you elaborate on that?
Um,
you can't do it, bro. You can't.
Okay. The roster right now for everybody playing at home is Glaive, SDY, Goofy, Kyler, and Poddy. Poddy coming up from the academy team that was full finish. They played 31 maps together. They've won 12, lost 19. Their matches include losses to the likes of DMS, NIP, the Mongols, Astralis, Falcons. Well, that doesn't read well. Aurora, 3D Max, Parivision, Kono, Koi, Unity.
Who the fuck is Kono, bro? Who the fuck is Kono?
Monty.
I was just looking at it. It's some Ukrainian team I've also never heard of. Oh, there's Amster there. Let's go.
Yeah.
Bait legend.
Their wins are against Koi, Sashi, MIBR, Complexity. That's not bad. But that was before the break.
That was before the break, yeah.
Okay. They beat True Rippers at Sky Esports.
Hey. They beat BLEED.
That's not bad. So yeah, it is leaving a lot to be desired, I would say. Going Polish hasn't worked out for them. They did that at the start of the year, guys. Or the end of the start of this year.
Start of the year. No, I mean, pretty much, yeah.
And only 3 players exist from that, and one of them is the Danish in-game leader. They kept Goofy and Kylar. Now it's Poddy and SDY, and SDY is their highest-rated player over those maps played. Blow it up, huh? Like,
yeah, guys, it's not. I
ain't-
don't even know what to
it ain't it.
where to start. Like they don't even come close to playing anything that we would watch seriously. Like this close qualifier a bit, and that's it. Like the SDY signing, obviously pretty good. Other than that, just start again.
They probably
I was
get to be in
curious-
Pro League, don't they? Because they're a partner team.
I mean, there's only
you
one
know
more,
the
so-
best. You should know. Out of
They're a
all.
partner team, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll be
ESL they
in
are.
Pro League.
One
Yay.
last hurrah
Do we think well, where's Glaive going to go otherwise?
to the bench.
The question is that he wouldn't. It's not the question. It doesn't really mean that he would want to leave. That doesn't have to be that he would want to leave.
Why'd you make that like a burn? That wasn't supposed to be a burn.
Well, it was a
at all.
burn.
It wasn't supposed to be a burn.
Well, it's like he's
Massively.
doing so badly in a team who can't beat anybody's. Because if I was going to say they can't beat nobodies, I'm sure they can beat nobodies, but they can't beat anybody's, right? They're having a hard time against some of these middle of the pack names.
I Glaive to Astralis. I just wanted to say it.
You think he's going to get benched? Or
I don't
that's
know.
what
I'm just saying that's there are two options, here for him
I
to
think-
decide or for him to get benched. Yeah.
I think he doesn't have good pieces, bro. What are they giving him? He's eating fucking Prof's omelet with chopsticks, and it's not cooked. It's just runny egg. That's how off a chopping board.
That is kind of true. That is kind of true. You put
I'm pretty sure Asians do eat their omelet with chopsticks.
Yeah,
by
but when
the
it's
way. Like,
cooked, this one ain't cooked, man. It's on a chopping board. It's just
They didn't-
egg and shit.
So what you're saying is they did not let him cook.
No one's cooking right now. They're not even in the kitchen. Like
they're in the bedroom. They're on the bed, just doing all of this.
they're going, why is this? Normally it's hot in here. Well, not hot enough. Yeah. Look,
Oof.
I'm gonna say he's gonna still be there. I'm gonna go hard in the paint. Why? Who are they even getting? 70%. He's still there.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm. I don't know. I just feel like the expiry date on the carton of eggs is somewhere start of October. I feel like 25%.
Oh shit! Because they haven't
What
made the
the-
major. Anything could change. Fuck! I forgot
mean,
about that. Kind of
I
a
would
big,
also
big
go-
if true moment.
I would also go Hive because realistically, I don't think, especially being in the position they are now, ENCE would probably not make a decision before the major's over and before they know all their options anyway. So I would imagine they would just play out the rest of the season like this. And like if it was to the end of the year, then yeah, I would also go probably a lot lower. But at this point, and knowing ENCE and knowing how they operate, I would be surprised if they made such a big change unless there was something seriously wrong with whatever the Cuban Glaive combo, or like one of them having to leave and them having to rebuild around the other one. So from that perspective, I think 2 months from now for him to go out, that's probably too early. So I'll go 80%.
Damn, he's out percented me.
How
I
percented you?
I think like with your angle, Prof, the problem I have is so many teams are in this we don't know what we're doing situation, like Fnatic, like NIP, like ENCE, like OG, like all of these orgs that have names that obviously pay their players something of substance, right? They're not getting amazing money, but it's a livable wage. It's probably more than minimum wage, I would imagine, right? Like they're definitely able to get paid to play. And it's like, what's your pulling point if you're ENCE? Well, I feel like Glaive would have to be that, right? For maybe some players who have had waning impact lately and maybe they get booted from their team or whatever, like to get to play with Glaive, it's obviously not as glamorous now as it once was, but it's still a name that ENCE could use to draw. But I don't even know, because like the whole thing, they took a gamble on their young kid Orpa, right? From the academy roster. He's turned out to he's the second highest rated player. I have to sit and watch
on a failing team doesn't really mean much, right?
Exactly. So it's like, again, the pieces that are here are not strong pieces.
No.
So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I think I am going very low considering who are they going to get at this point? And they're already at this tournament, which is like a Finnish tournament, so they want to play it. They're not going to pull out for no reason. But I do feel like at least one change is going to happen before that. But we'll see.
Can I just say we have like 5 days left on this whole Stewie situation?
This is true.
And still,
What did we say on
doesn't have a
that?
team.
What percentage did we put on that? I hope it was low.
I think it was kind of somewhere around 50-50, no? It was pretty close somewhere down the middle.
Tell me what I put, Prof. Do you have it?
I don't have the whole thing, but I have the results. We said Stewie 2K signing. It was like a 50-50, kind of.
What were we thinking?
And the crowd said yes.
That he would have a team.
Yes.
I was fucking calling you out, guys. I was like, how the fuck do you think this is like so obvious, man? Because there were so many people who are like, yeah, of course he's going to get a team. I'm like, why?
Well, the public agreed with us. So,
I know.
And the
and
eyes of the
I said
public,
you're all stupid.
we had a great take then at the time, which is the most important.
Wait, did we think that they were going to make it, Prof?
We thought that Stewie was going to get signed.
Dude, we're
September.
fucking idiots. Never listen to anything that Prof and I have to say ever again, guys.
Worst take.
And before we're gonna learn in the next 4 days that Stewie's found a team or something, and now I'm gonna look like the idiot here.
Fuck. All right. Well, this is What Are the Odds, brought to you by 1xBet. For this week, Glaive plays for ENCE at Alyssa Masters. Yes, no, social media, Twitter, Instagram. Have your vote. You win some prizes. We like prizes around here. Everybody likes prizes.
Prize for everyone.
Yeah,
we have like 300 euros right now in the thing, so it's building up.
What are that?
So, do you want a reminder on the things that we have coming up, like the what are the odds that we?
Yeah. This could be fun. Hit me.
So we had Malbs has a high rating that calls that went through. C9 to win a series at Blast. We said no. That was correct, as I predicted, very obviously. Zyro rating above 1.2 in Cologne playoffs. This was kind of a 50-50. The crowd voted yes. And it was so 3 correct for now. The Stewie signing thing, Falcons making it to the next major. It was a yes. It was slightly underdog pick. Then G2 are ranked top 4 by Shanghai Major. This is one of them. That could be, that was also a yes. It was also underdog pick, 147 euros if that goes through. Mouse will win a big crowd LAN in 2024. The audience said yes. That was 96 euros. Astralis win a notable event this year. Crowd said no. This is one of the hater
aging
picks.
well.
95 euros. And NiKo will IGL at more LANs than Twist this year. 263 euros for yes, but it's unlikely for this to happen.
Well, they're going to be wrong.
They're not going to get anything from that.
Twist is obviously going to in-game at more events than NiKo, unless something goes unless Snacks calls in sick between now and the end of the year. I think you might be safe. Well, we might be safe.
Considering how much NiKo talks in these things that we see, the voice comms and everything, maybe we can make an argument that he's calling the whole time.
Hey, who would have thunk it? All right. Lastly, let's get into just a quick bit of chit chat for Showdown. That was running a single elimination 16 team bracket. FaZe qualified over OG. Falcons qualified over VP. Those two teams, FaZe and Falcons, will be at the 4 finals, which is coming up in like a month and a half time, something along those lines, isn't it?
Yeah.
30 days.
In a month's time, yeah.
Yeah, because they had to move the dates, right?
Most importantly, we witnessed another NIP AMCAL series. Unfortunately, this one was not cast by Moses, but Launders and Scrawny had their own take at it, and just from the highlights, it was incredible.
It was amazing.
Was happy to see the result unfold there. Of course, NIP losing. That really made my day. But
Resident NIP hater.
No. It's just, we got to keep some of the tropes alive. That was a shit show of a game. Which was the people commenting like these people are paid to play. Like some of the shit that was happening was, I can't even put words on it. Like it's like people weren't aiming. I don't even know what to fucking put on some of that. But the big one for me is Complexity losing.
Yeah.
To Falcons.
I
mean, there's been some matches back and forth between them, so it's not like, and I mean, they were ranked like 2 spots between them, so I felt like that was fairly up in the air about what was going to happen, especially considering Complexity's recent form.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, people want me to believe Complexity are a good team.
I mean,
didn't we talk about this literally last episode where we were asking, like, how can we fix this team, man? Who can we get into this team?
They want me
to save a leash?
to think they're a good team. Striker,
Yeah.
tell me why they're not a good team.
Elise against Metasport 1.80 rating. Almost lost Vertigo, and then he has like a 1.05 against Falcons, instant lose. That's
Instant lose. So what is it?
Lose.
Is it a 2 rating every game or something? 1.05. Okay, I thought you said 1.5. I was like, that's still a pretty good rating. Okay, yeah, but otherwise for Showdown, I don't really have too many takeaways. I didn't watch a lot of it.
I didn't either. I mean, my main takeaway was kind of Heroic looking really shit. That was one of the few games that
they looked shit again today, didn't they?
And they've been progressively getting worse. It seems.
Oh, they 2-0'd bait. There we go.
Was this in the Rio qualifier now? I
yeah,
didn't.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with all of this.
Yeah.
They lost to Cloud9, which also happened earlier today, didn't I? I swear I was watching that game.
Yeah.
And then they beat bait. Okay, they're still in it.
Bro, interz top fragged against Heroic.
That's crazy to me, man. You know, like there's certain things that happen to players, right? And this is something that happened to me as an in-game leader. And when I was sitting, I need to give Azza this same advice. There's one core component of Counter-Strike that matters. Like, lots of things matter, right? But the one thing that really matters is shooting. Like, actually getting a kill, not to just be traded, not to just make space, to actually play to get a kill. And when I look at Inter's play, he's somebody who understands his role. Like, he's put in the hard graft to understand what he needs to do in the positions that he's doing. But it's like he forgets the one thing that actually matters is getting the kills in those moments. That's such a key thing. Like, it seems stupid to say, but Counter-Strike, it's all of these things put together. But as soon as you're putting something else, which I think maybe Az is doing at the moment, having to micromanage all this talent stuff, it's like you've got to focus on getting the kills in the round because they can contribute to the round win as opposed to just calling people into position and everything like that.
It's, you know, that meme template of the bell curve. And on one side is like super smart guy, and the other side is super dumb guy, and the middle is just average guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like the super smart and the super dumb guy are saying it's just about the frags. And then the middle is just like, oh, but what about this flash? I need to perfect my rotation and play for time. It's just like, if you're anchoring B on Dust 2 and you kill 3 guys coming in,
we win the round.
You win the round. You kind of win the round. That's it. That's the best play you can do ever.
Yeah. Delaying and doing all of those things are great, but getting the frags, most important.
Like, that's great if you can't get the kill, but if you can get the kills, then you can just get the kills.
Get the kills.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yes? What do you want to say?
No, FaZe made it through, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good little...
They're staying alive. They're staying alive. All right. Well, we did say before we started this, at least not with the people at home, but within ourselves, it probably wouldn't be a super long episode. Do we have anything else we want to touch on?
This is great.
This is adequate. Doesn't always have to be long. Just has to be good.
We will return on Sunday before Pro League.
Yes. So before all the madness. So less than a week you have to wait, and we'll be back and we'll pick up the news and we'll do a bit of a preview of what's going on with Pro League and maybe the rest of the year as well, because we do find ourselves in a bit of twilight zone at the moment with everything that's going on, and maybe we can take a look at some of the top teams and what their ramp up to the major is going to look like and all of that jazz. I'll see if I can do some PowerPointing, build something together. All right. Cool, everybody. This has been another episode of HLTV Confirmed. Thank you to 1xBet. Remember to gamble responsibly. And head over to Skin Place if you would like to sell any of your skins. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xbet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph, and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at hltv.org/shop.